Hello and welcome to this week's edition of ELCAT News. I'm your host, Jen Carlos. At this week's school committee meeting, Superintendent Gordon Smith gave an update on the Massachusetts School Building Authority's rejection of a new high school project into this year's eligibility period. In April of last year, the district submitted its statement of interest for the 5th year in a row.
Unfortunately, though, this just before the holiday break, we did not get invited into the eligibility period. After the holiday break, I did speak with our liaison, Diane Sullivan from the Mass School Building Authority, and she, as she's done the last few years, sort of broke things down for me. She said there were 70 projects that were submitted, 12 projects were invited into the eligibility period, which is lower than last year. 15 projects were invited in the previous year, which tells me that possibly construction costs are now increasing, so their budget is not able to handle as much square footage. The final point that Diane Sullivan made in terms of our statement of interest, because each year I ask very specific questions, she said that things that keep us in the discussion are the fact that we know that the school committee is supporting it, and that there has been support from the town, and that they have a good working relationship with us from previous projects.
A group of parents attending the meeting voiced frustration that several surrounding towns have built new high schools while East Longmeadow has yet to be invited into the process, which can then take up to 6 years until completion.
I think I speak, well actually I know I speak on behalf of a lot of folks that are really concerned, because, our kids are in sports and in groups and whatnot with other kids from Wilbraham and from Longmeadow and whatnot, and they've got new schools. And where I come from on the North Shore, Wilmington High School got a new Wilmington, high school. So really what a lot of folks want to hear is, what can we do to help you?
We have to take care of our current students. We can't just let the building run down. We can't stop doing repairs, can't stop doing unnecessary revisions to the building. Right. Because we have to take care of our current students. But that does affect us in the future. You take a tour of this building looks in wonderful shape, I can guarantee you, from the tiles, the floors, but the infrastructure is severely aged. It's old. Our electrical grid is maxed out, our plumbing is in trouble, our HVAC is in trouble. But when you take this building, and as someone who travels all over the state in different school buildings, this building, to the average person, is a beautiful building.
We've been here 14 years. We made our selection to move here. Same reasons, right? Great small town, good schools. We want our kids to grow up here. But it's almost like we're fighting the same battle that I know other people are. I mean, I've got neighbors who send their kids to Deerfield, they send them to Wilbraham Munson. And, with all due respect, walking through this high school, I don't find it impressive at all. And you're surrounded by, it's not just Longmeadow and Wilbraham, it's West Side, it's Belchertown. I mean, there's probably $700 million in new high schools inside 25 miles.
And you don't have to convince, I don't think, anybody at this table. We are 100% on board. We've been on this project now for 5 years. It's not unusual I'm not making excuses, this is the process we have. It's not unusual for districts to apply 6, 7, 8 times. We are in good shape for a building relative to others. You can see you name some of the new ones that are new. If you think of the old buildings, they were worse than ours is existing now today. They are funding less projects that were funded in the past. Longmeadow got in when there was more money. Wilbraham has some other issues, regional issues, that help them along. We are trying what we can do from our end. What folks can probably do, we talked about a political part of this, is contact those that make the decision. We have a state treasurer who's in charge of the MSBA board. That's the first person we should all be contacting on a relatively regular basis. The others are the state reps and the local reps. Those are the way to go. We have to convince MSBA that we are a project. We're not as needy as other towns. We have to admit that. If we let the building go, that's an option. We've always been against that. If we can't produce overcrowding, so we are stuck. This is the process. We continue to apply. The other option is we talk about what we can do instead, because it is conceivable that MSBA could say no for another 2, 3, 4 years. And so at what point do we have to think about other options? That's what we have to start to talk about, because I don't know when MSBA is going to invite us into the process.
I want to tell you something that, as much as I take the sentiments, I want a new building. We moved here for the schools because your numbers are great and your teachers are great. As much as I want a new building, and I'm adamant that I want a new building, and I believe that all the parents want that. We all want that. I have no intention of talking. I want to thank you for the exceptional teachers that are in this building. I have 2 children in this building, and while there are lots of physical issues in this building, Wi-Fi issues, all kinds of problems, my kids are taking wonderful classes and have wonderful teachers. And a school environment is not just the walls, it is the teachers, it is the support that they get from administration. And I want to thank you for that, and I want a new building. That's it.
At this week's Town Council meeting, Town Manager Denise Menard announced the beginning of a horseback riding program at Brown Farm on Hamden Road.
This was precipitated by a 4-H program outreach. Donna Prather organized a meeting to see how many 4-Hers, and I think there were like 40 people that came to the meeting. So there's a lot of interest. There's been discussion and finger pointing that Brown's Farm is not really used for stuff. There are already horse riding trails there, so we're going to try it.
According to Rec Department Director Donna Prather, the program will be administered and supervised through the Recreation Department, with the outdoor facilities and instructors ready for sign-ups by spring. Also discussed was a recent notification to residents regarding chlorination of water in town.
Due to the extremely wet weather, you may have seen these alarming notices letters. One was in the Republican. It was supposed to be yesterday. I think it was today, and every household should be getting these letters. Organics increased at the reservoir that is the source of our drinking water, which in turn called for Springfield Water and Sewer to increase chlorination of the water. In my simplified version of what happens is the chlorination kills organics. The organics settle into the water. The water comes from Springfield to us. We get the organics along with the water, and it showed our levels to be high for that, to the point where we have to notify the residents. It is not harmful, but it is above the levels that the DEP says.
East Longmeadow purchases its water from the Springfield Water and Sewer Commission, and chlorine is used to disinfect the drinking water. Planning and Community Development Director Constance Broaders brought a number of bylaw-related topics to the council for discussion. The first would amend the general bylaw relative to fees.
Therefore, I recommended that the fee schedule be repealed from the general bylaw, and I recommended that the fee schedules be determined by current market condition as needed and separate from the bylaws of the town of East Longmeadow. Most fee schedules today are not incorporated into the body of the bylaw. They're a separate fee schedule, and they're referred to because, as you can see, anytime you want to amend the fee schedule, it has to go before the governing board.
Those fee schedules are all in there, but every time you change a fee schedule, you had to have a public hearing to change the fee schedule, even though you weren't impacting the bylaw, but because it was part of it. So realistically, what they're looking to do is take the fee schedule piece out of the bylaw. So that way, every time the fees change with the market rate, we don't have to revisit a public hearing to change the fees.
Change the bylaw to change
The fee, right?
Yeah.
So that's really what it's talking about, so.
Okay.
So now I'll make a motion to refer to proposed Conservation Commission consultant fee schedule to the bylaw committee for recommendation to the council.
Second.
Third.
Fourth.
In favor?
Aye.
Attorney Frank Fitzgerald, representing the developers of 330 Chestnut Street, asked the council to refer the creation of a new mixed-use zoning bylaw to the planning board.
Request or an application for the creation of a mixed-use residential district. We've been here before. It's very difficult to discuss a project of this type without discussing the project itself. And so we kind of put the cart before the horse, and shame on us for that. We're back here now asking you to refer the matter of the creation of a mixed-use residential district in the zoning bylaws of the town to the planning board for further dialogue and discussion at public hearings.
It's a three-step process.
Right.
The first step is you have to write the bylaw that creates the zone, okay? Because without that, you can't do anything. The second step then is to assign that zone to some place in town, to put it on the zoning map.
Right.
And only at that point can you then address a particular project. that is being proposed.
I'd like to propose a motion to refer to the planning board for review and subsequent public hearing, a request by the petitioner for a proposed zoning bylaw amendment to include a mixed-use district.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
The planning board asks that the council approve a bylaw change allowing the building commissioner to have final approval for sign permit applications.
Currently, when someone wants to put up a new sign, they go to the building commissioner. The building commissioner reviews the application, sends it to the planning board votes on it, and it goes back to the building commissioner to actually issue the building permit for it. This procedure was put in decades ago because the planning board felt they needed to have control over signage, and we do by the way the zoning bylaw is written. We have very detailed things that say this is what the sign has to be. But as it turns out, the building commissioner is also the zoning enforcement officer. And so the building commissioner is not going to approve a sign that violates zoning. Or if he does, he's not going to enforce against it. So it's a waste of time for the planning board. It's a waste of time for the applicant. And in many cases, because of the time issues, signs actually go up before they're approved.
Finally, the planning board wants to add a definition of commercial vehicle under the existing bylaw governing parking of commercial vehicles in residential zones.
Just having commercial plates on your vehicle does not mean that it's a commercial vehicle. If it's over a certain weight, you need to have commercial plates apparently, whether or not you're using it in a business. Likewise, there are people who use vehicles in their business that do not have commercial plates. They just use their personal car to do whatever it is they're going to do. After discussion with the council, it became apparent that the issue is not so much a commercial vehicle as what we call portable billboards. Vehicles with signage on them that are being left in driveways. People feel that this detracts from the residential nature of the neighborhood.
So I would like to suggest that you read the bylaw first before we have discussion so that we know what's really on the table. It's sort of a Robert Rules of Order basic.
Great.
And Tom read the last one at the very end.
It says, for the purpose of amending and clarifying Section 8 definitions of the Town of East Long Meadow zoning bylaw, the following words shall have meanings given hereinafter. Commercial vehicle, any vehicle currently registered as such with the State Registry of Motor Vehicles or equivalent out-of-state or federal agency and is used primarily in the conduct of a business as evidenced by signage or other commercial enhancements to the vehicle as opposed to a private family or individual use. Where appropriate, the plural shall include the singular. Definitions are provided strictly for clarification, not to be interpreted as permissible or allowable unless stated in the table of uses within the zoning bylaw.
I have a question about commercial vehicles and the definition. Does that include the DPW's vehicle, fire chief's vehicle, police chief's vehicle that they take home with signage on it?
Those are, through the chair,
Sure.
Those are municipal vehicles which are not subject to the zoning bylaw at this time. They have municipal plates on them.
Right. That's a different process
the blue
through the
plates.
registry of motor vehicles, so.
Yeah.
I can give you many instances where there's different processes through motor vehicles, but they don't all apply. And this, in my estimation, this proposal is way too vague for any enforcement at all. There's ways around everything. And if you're going to make this, then it needs to be very specific. Exactly what you want and what can be and cannot be there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing for a second reading to address a proposed zoning bylaw amendment, Section 8 definitions, commercial vehicles to January 22nd, 2019 at 7:10 p.m.
Second.
You have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Kevin Mullen. All in favor?
Aye.
When it comes to giving back, Jake Jonah and Carl Hansen have a story to tell. The two were best friends in Mrs. Bates' kindergarten class. Now adults, they are right where they want to be, still best friends and still at Meadowbrook School, but now as busy and enthusiastic volunteers. ELCAT intern Angelica Kaur sat down with Jake and Carl recently to find out what makes giving back to the kids at Meadowbrook so enjoyable for them.
My name is Miss Jake Jonah. My name is Carl Hansen.
I'm Angelica Kaur. Do you guys want to talk to me about when and why you started to work at Meadowbrook?
You first.
You go first, Carl Hansen.
Well, I met Miss Roby from Route 32 at track and field with Special Olympics. She asked me to volunteer.
Yeah? How long?
4 years now.
Oh.
I do Special Olympic with, I do swimming at, my coach name is Coach Lane at Special Olympics.
What do you guys do at Special Olympics?
Swimming,
You swim?
Soccer,
soccer, bowling, and
board. I do track and field and volleyball and bocce.
Oh my god. What are some of your favorite things to do during the school day?
Greet the kids, say good morning to Mr. Jonah.
my favorite part of the here at Meadowbrook School, the car line.
Yeah. What do
And
you
I greet them, the kids.
You greet the kids at the car line?
No, I would greet them and she walk in the hallway every day.
Oh, that's such an important part.
Yes.
What are a few memories when you guys came to Meadowbrook?
We have some memories right here. Mr. Jonah and I, well, Jake and I, went to school together at Meadowbrook.
What kind of stuff did you guys do together?
Well, I don't remember because it's been so long, but we probably done. Well, we did have like the stuff we have today.
Like what?
Like tablets or stuff. We had to do stuff on our own. And another great Meadowbrook memory is Mrs. Forward.
Yeah? Why her?
Because when I was she was our course teacher when we were kids here at Meadowbrook.
Nice. Did you like chorus?
Yes. We sang some funny songs like I like to build a world a home and smoke is no joke. Well, it is not a joke.
I agree. Do you guys want to talk a little bit about your friendship?
Yeah.
You go.
Give me some details. Give me the fun stuff.
Well, we always hang out with each other. We love to make each other laugh. Yes. And sometimes when at 11 o'clock I would come in and read because Mr. John has a hard time reading.
Yeah,
So he asked me.
I don't know, hold it. The word I don't know, he helped me. The word I don't know with
Yes.
the storybook.
Yep,
Yeah.
you're a good team,
Good.
right?
Colin and I, good team.
That's
Yes.
the way to do it.
On January 16th, the Veterans Memorial Committee will host a celebrity bartender night from 5 to 8 p.m. at Mario's Cafe Ambiance. There will be a raffle and other exciting promotions, and the event will feature veteran committee members as bartenders. Here's what's happening at the library this week. On Monday, January 14th, from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. is an ELHS study night. The library will stay open until 10 p.m. for ELHS students only, and IDs are required. Snacks will be provided. On Tuesday, January 15th, from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. is a rubber ducky soap making workshop. In this fun hands-on workshop, participants will learn about soap and soap making. Everyone will leave with their own rubber ducky soap creation. The workshop is for tweens and teens ages 12 and up. Registration is required. On Thursday, January 17th, from 2:30 p.m. to 4 p.m. is an after-school Smash Brothers event. Play Super Smash Brothers on the big screen. The library has a new Nintendo Switch and 4 controllers. And on Friday, January 18th, from 12:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. is a movie matinee for tweens and teens. This week's film is the Star Wars film Solo, rated PG-13. That's it for this week's edition of ELCAT News. I'm Jen Carlos. Thanks for watching. See you next time.